Well, happy Mother's Day, 2025. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure who started Mother's Day. It may have just been the Hallmark card company. Whatever it is, it's a good thing to remember our mothers. A great percentage of the world population worship God as a mother. Uh, we were reminded yesterday when we were watching the replay of the Pope's new Pope's first Mass that even Roman Catholicism uh, is at least partially is worshiping the mother. They prayed the rosary, and the Hindus, of course, there's the mother goddesses, and uh, mothers are really big things. Okay, and well, they should be, because if anyone should be worshipped as a deity archetype, it would be the mother. Now, I'm what, 76 years old here, or 77, or when you're 76, you forget whether you're 77. Uh, uh, Constance, thank you, dear. She's the old one. She's 77. Uh, oh, I shouldn't have said that. She's so vain about her age. She's the old one. Uh, and the wise one. Be that as it may, not all mothers are wise mothers. And my mother's been dead for a long time. Uh, and but she's not gone. Uh, no, the longer it's been since she died, the more I love her, and the more I realize the and understand the humanness behind her, and appreciate her efforts and her, I hate to use the word sacrifices, but the more I appreciate her efforts and recognize the almost insane love that she had for my brother and myself. And she was not perfect in what I'm going to share with you today. I wrote a whole chapter in Low Magic called Family Secrets. And I say something about mom. And, I wrote this book a number of years ago. And I like to think that I've aged and I've matured a little bit in those years, and I would have probably written this a little differently, but not too much. Uh, and I'm also going to read to you. I've included in here my eulogy that I gave at her funeral, and I also sang at her funeral. I sang one of her favorite hymns. And that's one of the good things about mom. She was musical. And she had a beautiful soprano voice, and always sang in the church choir and things like that. And she loved the classic Protestant hymns. Uh, I don't think she would have liked or appreciated today's new praise music. Uh, but and we were Methodists, but that just out of convenience, we we would have been any kind of Protestant. I think no, she wasn't aware of the differences in doctrine, which I'll explain for a sec. Um, Here it is, and it's right out of the book Low Magic. It's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is. My mother was a fundamentalist Christian who took perverse pride in the fact that she did not know, nor did she care to learn the history or tenets of Christianity, even her own brand. She did not read, let alone study the Bible. Childlike faith was the sole virtue she boasted would get her into heaven. In her mind, curiosity and education would only open the door to the devil's wiles and tempt her to doubt the one true way of blind faith that was pounded into her as a child growing up on the unforgiving prairie of western Nebraska. This devotional focus could have been a powerful spiritual tool in her life if it were not for the fact that there was not an object for her devotion. She did not seem particularly devoted to Jesus or interested in the spiritual significance of the passion of his life. She was thoroughly content with the concept that if she unquestioningly believed that he, as a historical character, died on the cross, came back to life 3 days later, and then flew up into the sky 40 days after that, then she would go to heaven. And everyone who didn't believe those things would be justly punished in a blazing hell for eternity. Even as a child, I believe she delighted more in the thought of the damnation of the unbelievers than in the promise of the sweet salvation for believers. Belief in such doctrines isn't necessarily cause for criticism or condemnation. Indeed, I've known many people that hold very similar religious beliefs, people with loving hearts who possess deep compassion for their families, friends, neighbors, and communities. And I have to say, Mom had at least a deep interest and love for my brother and me, even though she beat us. Okay. I know many people that hold very similar beliefs, people with loving hearts who possess deep compassion for their families, friends, neighbors, and communities. But with all due respect to the woman who brought me into this dimension, I'm sad to report that my mother was not one of these people. For her, this small exercise in intolerant religious absolutism only freed her to focus her entire energies upon the one and only object of her true spiritual devotion, herself. Now, as the older I get and the more I understand about the behavior, the character, the challenges of the narcissistic personality, and we see it terribly, tragically, monstrously at work. Example of the narcissistic personality in the current political situation in the United States, and indeed the behavior of dictators all over the world. It's textbook narcissistic behavior. And if we allow ourselves the luxury of compassion ourselves, uh, we should at least partially see it as an illness. Mom was supernaturally psychic and possessed of a powerful personality so magnetic that it captured and dominated everyone around her. This made her initially attractive to others and in social environments very popular. Time after time during her 94-year incarnation, casual acquaintances became her unsuspecting victims, falling voluntarily under her spell, only later to find themselves stung, paralyzed, and hopelessly entangled in the web of emotional servitude. Yes, she was a charismatic dictator who ironically had no master plan other than to create explosions of emotional turmoil in the lives of those around her and then to draw energy from that turmoil. Sound familiar? After 33 years of suffering her soul-draining dramas, my father died at the age of 62. 23 years later, the same fate awaited a second husband. Her magic touch would also prove fatal to the health and careers, marriages, and relationships of relatives, friends, and well-meaning strangers. Ironically, she had at times a great sense of humor, and humor is the inheritance from her I most treasure. Humor continues to help me cope with and hopefully transmute the darker magic she bequeathed me. Here are a few passages from the eulogy I delivered at her funeral. I may sound a bit disrespectful in the short clip below, but the pastor, you would have had to have been there, okay? The pastor and the congregation of her church certainly didn't think so. They knew my mother too well. The laughter in the sanctuary was a healthy discharge of emotion for us all. From a son's eulogy, Christ Presbyterian Church. She was a Presbyterian by the time she died because it was right across the street. Lakewood, California, January 26th, 2008. I'm sure all mothers aren't vampires. But mine was. I sucked her milk for less than a year, and she sucked my blood for nearly 59. Up to a point, I think it's part of the natural order of things. We all live off of each other in one way or another. If someone really needs to be nourished with my energy, I'm happy to bleed a little for them. But I really resent it when they don't really drink my blood, but instead spill it all over the floor. I'm sad to say in her 94 years, Mom spilled a lot of people's blood all over the floor. Please don't get me wrong. Mom loved people, but she hated all other living things. You'd never catch her petting a dog or stroking a cat. She strove to kill all insects, both inside and outside the house. She didn't even care too much for flowers because of the chance they might harbor an insect. You never wanted to take her to a restaurant to which you ever intended to return. She ran waiters and waitresses ragged And if she didn't like the food, she'd often call them to the table, take the food out of her mouth, and say, "Honey, look at this. Would you eat that?" She would then try to get them to eat some of it before sending it back. Toward the end of the meal, she always loudly announced, within earshot of the haggard waitress, that she didn't believe in tipping. She always stole the napkins. As a matter of fact, I think we still use some of her stolen napkins.
No, they finally all died.
Oh, Constance says they finally all died. We did for years, though, and thought of her fondly. Okay. To say she was strong-willed and self-centered would be a colossal understatement. If I were to use the title of a popular song to describe the character of this amazing person, I'd say it would be Frank Sinatra's My Way. Now get this is true. As a matter of fact, when she was in her late 70s, she demonstrated how true this was by causing herself and her entire party to be kicked out of a Frank Sinatra concert in Long Beach because she refused to stop talking loudly and chatting with her friends during his performance. Sadly, I must give her mixed reviews as far as her parenting skills were concerned. She subscribed to the old school philosophy that states a mother should never whip her child unless she is red in the face in the throes of a violent rage and completely out of control. These beatings were perhaps tame compared to some stories of abuse, and that's true. She didn't diddle us. She didn't burn us with cigarette butts. She didn't stick things up our butt or do anything like that. Okay. Got to give her that. Once, however, as I struggled to escape a paddling, she used a wooden paddle. She missed her mark and hit me in the head with the edge of a wooden paddle. I guess it scared her pretty badly to see me stunned blind and bouncing off the furniture. Remember, I'm saying this at her funeral. But I'm all grown up now, and I've forgotten all about it. Because I was second-born child, I personally escaped many of the more severe and damaging effects her maternal learning curve visited upon my older brother, Mark, in the 6 years of his life before I was born. But Mark's all grown up now, too, and I'm sure he's forgotten it, too. Yes, Mom was quite a character. Strong-willed, charismatic, wicked, and unforgivable. Excuse me. Unforgettable. I've forgiven long ago. A few months before she died, I wrote her this little poem. Perhaps we were neighbors, perhaps we were kin, perhaps we were husband and wife. Perhaps we were friends, perhaps we were foes. Perhaps we took each other's life. No matter the bonds we bring from the past or what we once were to each other, whether parent or spouse or sister or brother, this time around, you're our mother. So as this part of our lives draws near to a close, and the stage soon will be set for another, let's kiss and let's laugh and set fire to the past, and forgive and forget one another. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And you'll be happy to know I love you more each year. And each year I get back at you by reading that poem. Okay, until tomorrow for the order of Monday morning, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. And be good to your mother. Do you have anything to add? You're the best mother on earth, dear.
Lon, that's just not,
Well, it is. I've yet to see
Oh,
anyone
honey.
handle motherhood better than you. I'm
Well,
sorry.
you have never seen me in my. You have yet to feel having PMS on a day when everything goes wrong and nobody will listen to you, or even menopause. I mean, there are things that are really completely out of your control sometimes, and everybody loses it. So maybe some of those times was what happened to your mother. And I do know absolutely that her number one priority was her two sons, because she did not have her husband was a nice man, but he was not helpful. So
I love Dad.
I know he played with you. She was, alone.
We played catch.
She was alone in a part of the country without her relatives and friends, a lot stranded, and
Yeah.
So I totally, I give her. She drove me batshit crazy, okay, but I do know that you guys were her number one, so she was.
And she kept a roof over our heads
Oh my
when
God.
no other source of income.
We borrowed money from that old woman who was working into her 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
More than, it was pitiful. And helped us have Christmases with Jean Paul. And so,
I once broke the telephone.
By throwing it against the wall and cracking the plaster. It was plaster at that old house. Putting a hole in the wall because he was talking to his mother. And
she knew every button to push.
She made every button.
She made them and then jumped on them. Okay.
Anyway, so I'm just,
Yes. Thank you, because it's.
She's not like my mother, but my mother,
So, your mother was Cookie Queen. Queen of cookies.
I know, it was, yeah.
Anyway, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow for the order of Monday morning. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Well, love is the law, love under will.